welcome to my channel. My name is Man-Ray, and this is Man-Ray's Tech Vlogs and More. This is tech, not a vlog. So this is the AMD 7600, RX 7600. It's got 8 gigs of VRAM, that's video memory, and it runs, let me tell you, because I don't know how to auto cue, by the way. This is all from my head, so bear with me. It's got 2408 stream, I think it's stream, or is it steam? No, stream processors. Memory speed of 1800 gigabytes a second. It's GDDR6, and that's 8 gigabytes on a 128 bus. Takes 165 watts of power. It's got one 8-pin connector, and yeah, that's kind of it really. That's the main parts. It's AMD's 7000 series of GPUs, graphics cards, and it's a low end to mid-range, targeted for 1080 Ultra, 1440p mid and stuff like that. It can do ray tracing, as you will see from the graphs, but it's not made to be running 4K ultra settings ray tracing. I did all my benchmarks from 720 or up to 4K with ray tracing on and off for the games that support it, just so you can see what you could get from this cheap card from AMD. Nvidia will be releasing the RTX 4060 soon. They got a 4060 Ti out right now for about £500. This I got for £269 on Amazon. I was really surprised and happy with the results of my benchmarking. I did a lot on a bunch of graphs, hope you understand them. I will not be talking about each graph like this, I'll be talking over them because of way too much information to go through. But I've got a couple notes, and I will do it live on camera right now. Just a quick rundown of what I've seen. So for F1, it could run ray tracing on almost all settings. At 1440p and 4K frames, on average, max and low were about 50, right? And that's ray tracing off, by the way. So 50 frames with ultra settings at 4K, 50 frames around at 1440p with ultra settings, and at 720 and 1080 it was 108 frames at 1080 and 200 frames at 720. Ray tracing on, different story. At 4K with ray tracing on 20 frames, barely playable. At 1440p could play F1 if you really wanted to. I would recommend putting a setting down from Ultra if you can do it at 1440p with ray tracing on. If you think it's worth the eye candy to lose some frames, then go for it. I will show you the graph soon, and I will do a quick comparison of 1440p with ray tracing and then ray tracing off. And I did that for all the different resolutions, and it'll be a shorter video in this video, 30-second clip of each of the resolutions, and I did it for all the games, so you can have a look and see if it's worth the performance frame difference, frame drops, for just having ray tracing on or off, or if you want to have to buy a more expensive card that's not this one, that's not a mid to low end, so you can get the eye candy and all the stuff you want to go with it. So that was for Formula 1. So 1440p, if you put it to high or medium ray tracing, you could play it and get at least above 30 frames for that racing game. And that's F1 2022. Here's a chart. Talk over most of these, and yeah, hopefully I don't ramble on for too long.
Hello everybody. So this is the charts. As you can see, 720 with ray tracing on, you go up to about 145 frames 1080p, it's about 60 all day, every day. 1440p, you get max frames of 50 and lows of 30. 4K, almost unplayable, probably best not to do it unless you put the setting down a little bit, but you could and can play with the RX 7600 with this game with higher settings. With ray tracing off, the game does give a lot more frames, obviously. At 720, you get 250 frames, 1080p, you get about 170 frames, and 1440p, 60 all day, every day for all max, averages, and mins. And 4K, you can play it. If you put the settings down a little bit to do with textures and other things, you should be good to go. Thank you very much. And yeah, I've got a white thing in my nose. Sorry about that. Only saw it after I shot the intro. Back to the intro. Thanks.
And then Forza Horizon 5 with ray tracing at 4K. The lows were pretty worrying. The lows were really low, to like low teens, but the highs were alright. You could get up to about 50 depending on where you are in the benchmark. But you could definitely play at 1440p with ray tracing on easily on Forza Horizon 5. 1080 was hitting 60 average, low, and max, which is steady around 60. That's for Forza Horizon. With no ray tracing at 4K, 65 frames easy, 100 frames at 1440p. That's for Forza. No ray tracing. 720 and 1080 and 1440p. It was 100 frames for all, for low, average, and max on the whole, right? Obviously, little up and downs for the frames, but for Forza Horizon, if you want to play it with no ray tracing, you can get 100 frames easily, almost all resolutions. So you're good to go, set for 4K. And here's the charts, and I'll have a quick talk over that and tell you what's on the graph.
Hello people, this is mann-rays in the future. So this is Forza Horizon 5 with ultra settings, ray tracing off. It gets about 100 frames at 720 for the max frames. It gets about 100 again at 1080p, 100 at 1440p, and about 85 at 4K. The averages for 720 is about 95. The averages for 1080p is higher than the 720. That makes no sense. That's another 100. And then 1440p, then it makes sense again. It goes down to about 80 frames for averages. The mins are the lowest for the 1440p, but still above 50 frames, so definitely playable. At 4K, the max is 75, The averages are 55 and the lows are 50. On all my charts, the blues are averages, the greenish blue is max, and the mins are orange. So if you want to play Forza Horizon without ray tracing, you can play almost all settings without any trouble at all. Let's go on to the other graph bar chart. Ray tracing on, you get 100 frames still with 720, 100 frames plus with 1080p, 100 frames with 1440p, and 55 frames with 4K. So for some reason, ray tracing on this one kind of makes no difference. I'm not sure it was error with my benchmarking or what it could be, but you don't really lose much frames with ray tracing on Forza Horizon with this graphics card with my setup. So good luck to you all. Alright, back to me rambling on. And some comparison clips with ray tracing on and off and the different resolutions very quickly before we go back to my rambling. Alright, see you in a second. Peace.
Tomb Raider at 4K, 55 frames, 1440p, it was about 90 frames, and then 1080p 100 frames on average, low and max. There was no ray tracing on my one, so I didn't do ray tracing, but I put the graphs up, and all of the Tomb Raider ones are all on one video, on one clip, and on this video, and you will see those. You can see the differences in detail, in hair textures, background, shadows, and those other things to see if it's worth the frame loss like the other ones.
Hello people, so this is me going through them as quick as possible. So 720p, you get 200 frames. For the max, you get mins of about 150, and you get averages of about 135. That's for 720p with Tomb Raider, Shadow of the Tomb Raider Ultra settings. 1080p, you get about 220 frames at 1080 for max frames. For averages, you get about 120, And then for mins, you get about 100. 1440p for Shadow of the Tomb Raider, you get about 120 max, and then averages of about 75, and lows, so mins, of around 65. And then at 4K, you get about 60 frames to 50 for max, and average you get about 40 frames, and the mins are really low, about 20. Yeah, that's kind of it really. If you want to play Shadow of the Tomb Raider, you can definitely get by with this graphics card at almost all settings. If you put the settings down a tiny bit for the 4K, you can get a lot more smoother gameplay. Thank you. On to the comparisons, and enjoy.
Let's do Returnall now. Returnall without ray tracing, with ray tracing, 1080p and 720 playable, but lows are pretty bad. The dips go down really hard. I think that's because of the frame, the VRAM. I don't think the 8 gigs could keep up with with even just the normal play. And that's with ray tracing and without ray tracing at ultra or high on Returnall. It struggled. The game struggled a lot. So those are the benchmarks for what I've done. I do have Cyberpunk, and I will show Cyberpunk, but I didn't do a chart for it. I just wanted to do a quick show and see what you could maybe get from the small part of the game where I just moved around and played with the camera. So you'll see a small Cyberpunk one.
Hey people, hope that transition wasn't too bad. I did have AMD's live stuff working, AMD Live, and it was recording the frames. But because of the thing I choose to record, it decided that that was a desktop, so it didn't show the frames. But for 1080p, with those settings, as you can see on the screen, I was getting about 40 to 50 frames quite easily at 1080p, and I was getting 20s to 30 at 1440p. So if you want to try play some Cyberpunk with Raytracing on, you can. You can do it. Probably not the one if you want to put it to max end, but you can definitely get by with it. My next video, I will do a proper one where you can see the frames.
You don't belong.
I'm still learning these things. Bear with me. Thank you. Back to the scheduled programming. See you soon. Before we go back to the scheduled programming, I'm gonna run Cyberpunk timespy. Hey people, so that was timespy. This is timespy. I cut out quite a lot of it because it's quite a long video, but I left some parts in just so you can see how the benchmark works. The benchmark work if you've never seen it before. So that's what that is, and then here are the results. It gets a score of 9,929 and then 15,679 CPU score. I've not actually compared it to other stuff yet, not really. I will be comparing it to the RX580 at some point, but the thing on here, if you can see me up it through, so apparently Fortnite it can run at 1440p ultra. Then I changed it as you saw in the thing, and you can see me go through the different games very quickly if you pay attention to the thing where it says frames, and it gives like an estimate, a guess of what frames it would get and what settings. So you can take a quick look at this there are games that I haven't benchmarked with this graphics card, and you can see it on the time spy thing on its guess on how good it can run those games. And those are some of my specs on my computer if I didn't mention, or I failed to mention some of them. Alright, back to my scary face.
RX 7600 is worth the money in my opinion. It's well made for the price. Very plasticky but solid. The temperatures were pretty low. I'm guessing you can overclock it a little bit. I've not done that yet. I've not really had the time. I will be comparing it, so give me a minute, to this soon. This is the RX 580. It's got 8 gigs of RAM just like that. I think the bus is 256, but it's an older graphics card from 6 years ago. And this is what I'll be comparing to this new AMD card. This was the high end 6 years ago. This is the low to mid nowadays. I got this for 70 quid. I got this for 270 quid, pounds. So soon I will do the same benchmarks, obviously excluding ray tracing, to see if you can get an older card with the same VRAM, if that's what you can afford. 70 pounds, 80 pounds, 60 pounds, you can maybe get this for on eBay. See if it's worth getting something from 6 years ago to save money until they release cheaper cards, or cards with more power behind them, and not these low-end targeted 1080p weirdness, right? When this could run 1440p when it came out 6 years ago, when this is barely running 1440p with the newer games. Yes, games evolved and got harder to run and maybe less optimized compared to before, but us gamers and us tech enthusiasts shouldn't have to deal with slower cards for more money just because the games are harder to run. They should adapt to the market and say, okay, if Unreal Engine 5, 6, whatever it is, needs this kind of power, then they should give us the low end to at least run 1080 at high or ultra, not just kind of maybe run a little bit at 30 to 60 frames. Alright, hope you enjoyed my video. The RX 580 will be the next video, comparing it to the RX 7600. Alright, thank you for watching. Share, like and subscribe. Hopefully the cuts ain't too weird, because there's going to be lots of cuts, because I did this in one go. And almost no script. I ain't got no script in front of me, just a couple notes on my phone. Alright, have a good weekend or have a good day, whatever you're doing. Share, like and subscribe like I said. Peace.